We're here. Hello. I think can you sound check? Sound check?
Check. Mic check. Hi.
I think everybody should be able to hear everyone now.
We can hear
Great.
you.
Who else? Elliot
Yay.
says he can hear you. Yay! Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's The Dungeon Cooldown. I am
But
Ron
now
Ogden,
at 1 p.m.
Katie. Now at 1 p.m. Katie Michels here with me as well. We apologize for the delay. Had some weather issues this morning, some schedule conflicts and stuff. It's all settled. We're here now. It's time to start talking about what happened on our last episode.
On our last 114 episodes.
Katie.
Yes.
This last episode was very emotional for me. And it required me to not necessarily, just because of what we're doing, there's so much that Ugo's feeling that we just haven't had time to really talk about or discuss. So
Yeah.
there's just so much going on, and I'm excited about this week's episode as well. But I wanted to see how you were feeling.
Same. I think that's like the tricky thing of ending anything, right? And that's not, no matter how much time you take to end it, there's always just going to be stuff at the end where you're like, oh shoot, I want to talk more about that, or I want to do that. And that's life, you know?
And it's
Same
life.
thing.
That's right. The Cimmerillion, I think, comes to mind when I think of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's for me as a player, it's trying to like balance what is necessary in this moment. And some of it we can leave to the imagination, and that's okay.
Right. Yep. That's right. And those threads that we don't necessarily get to are ripe for future content. So
yeah.
I also find some solace myself in those kind of things. So
yeah.
But we've got some questions, I think. But first, before that, I want to thank everyone for joining us this morning, especially our Patreon supporters. This particular show does not exist without all of you. So thank you very much for your donations and your support for our channel. We very, very much appreciate your time and your effort.
I see some people saying weather issues in California.
Oh, I know, right?
It's raining a lot here right now, and we have a flood warning. And also, California is normally sunny, so anytime there's weather, it's like it's not set up for weather.
It's also very cold.
Yeah, super cold.
Grasp my hand. You're calling me out. I know it's not just morning because I just woke up. That's not what this is. It's not my fault. I'm a late person. I work on the later ends of on things.
Thank you for gifting Goofus McDorkle. Wow.
Whoa, Goofus McDorkle. Thank you very much. All right, let's get into our questions, shall we?
Okay, well, we got a long one to kick us off from Liam Gordis. Liam Gordis, who just had a birthday, I believe. Happy birthday, Liam. Question for both Katie and Ron. When beginning the dungeon run, the two of you came from just drastically different playing experiences. I'd love to know how those different experience levels have impacted how each of you play. Katie, was it a trial by fire jumping into a campaign with the wealth of knowledge around you? Ron, how does playing with fresh to D&D players change the game, and how you approach it? I'd also like to say thank you once again to both of you. The dungeon run means so much to so many of us. It's impossible to put into words, and I can't wait to see what you do with it next. Thank you, Liam.
Yes, thank you, Liam. I do want to point out, Liam, thank you so much, especially the end there of saying, looking forward to what we do with it next, because lots of changes are coming in the next couple of months, and I'm super excited. I hope all of you are as well. Katie, so how do you feel about the question Liam has here?
I mean, yeah, I think for me, I didn't have a ton of expectation jumping in. I was definitely nervous when I started, just because as those of you who have, you know, a lot of you have played D&D forever, so it's like, whatever, it's easy, you do whatever. But feels intimidating a little bit when you start, because there's a lot of books and there's a lot of people that have been playing for a very long time and know all of the rules and the lore and the blah, blah, blah. And it's hard to know, like, wait, what if this is necessary knowledge and what if this is like nerded out knowledge, if you will, like the extraneous stuff.
Yeah.
And you really quickly learn, I think, that it's different for everyone, and almost all of it's extraneous stuff a little bit. And like,
that's absolutely right.
D&D is just a long form improv.
Yep. Well, at least the way we play it is.
Yes. Yeah. I will say Jeff is a gift DM for me because he's rule of cool, and he's not a rules lawyer by any stretch of the imagination. No. He plays by the rules, and he does instill them. And so it's not like we get away with anything, but his whole thing is justification. And it was that way in the audition process. So I just went into it with like, if I can justify it, I feel like I can get away with things, which is, I think, why like I could do things like kind of charm a robot in episode 5, you know, because I was like, we made eye contact and I'm the first thing it saw. Like, so yeah, it was a lot of like me, I think, trial by fire, me figuring out what works within this campaign, and how can I play to my strengths without like ruining it for everyone else. And helping other people.
I love that this question came up and you make this mention, because there's been a little bit of especially this morning, there's been some Twitter debate about this concept, about especially DMs who tend to be the rule lawyery types. And in my opinion, look, play how you want to play. No gatekeeping. What's fun is fun. We're all allowed to have fun, and we're all allowed to have different opinions on what is fun. What I find fun about D&D is that it's improvised storytelling, and that you're trying to tell a story over follow the rules. That's how I like to look at it. Sure, rules are very important. The first thing I learned in improv was all the rules. But then I also learned that those rules I was learning is so that I could break them for story effect over time. So that's how I like to look at it as a DM and as a player. I loved playing under Jeff. I honestly think that Jeff has been the best DM that I've ever played under over a long period of time. Very much a rule of cool kind of dude. I have taken advantage of that as much as you have in many different ways, shape, and forms. My grappling hook became a very effective weapon that normally would not be. So I plan on taking that same energy into our next campaign. That's just my opinion on the things. So I'm excited to see what you do with that as well, Katie, now that you're a little bit more of an experienced player. But back to the question, I usually play with fresh D&D players. In fact, my ongoing campaign that I play and have been playing since before the pandemic and right before the show, all of those individuals were brand new to the game. So it's typically what I run into quite a lot. I, in fact, most of the time love that because as a player, you're more accustomed to playing in a different way rather than like, oh, but the rules say this. Homebrew in 5e has become very, very important and clearly everywhere. So it feels to me that instead of what we call raw rules as written, I think it would be better served for both players and the story if DMs were more of like rules as intended, RAI, for storytelling purposes. So I hope there are some DMs out there that agree with me, and if you don't, that's okay. I might challenge you and to say, try it sometime. So I think that covers Liam for now.
I mean, I will also I don't know if I quite answered it. I wasn't intimidated by playing with everybody, but a little bit.
Well, what I
was really nice, but it was like, I definitely felt like the new kid, like the outsider a little bit, because everyone knew D&D very well compared to me, and I didn't. But everyone's super nice, so that quickly became okay.
And there was one thing that I really loved is that early on, you made it clear that our characters would be friends, just in the nature and the experiences that they had together up to that point. And so it was very nice when we were sat next to each other and we could rely on where I could improvise with you and have a lot of fun. And then at the same time, whenever there was something serious or heavy going on and we weren't on the spotlight, I could help you with rules and all that kind of stuff. So it worked.
There's a lot of moments you'll see in the beginning where I'm like looking at my stats, sweating, because I don't know where my stealth saving thing is like, that was truly the most intimidating thing to me was the character sheet.
Mm-hmm.
The character sheet on a live show.
Yeah.
The quick, because improv is all about like going with it fast and on the fly. So then when I have something like that was like, I don't know this, that felt hard, but we get over it.
Yeah. Red Robin. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, it's okay. You can read it. Do it.
Red Robin asks, for both Katie and Ron, what was the impact of you hearing how your own character traits were used by Jeff in the last Amulet viewing in 114? I assume Jeff didn't prepare you, and wow, what a reveal.
Mm-hmm. Never prepared for Jeff's stuff. No. He's so good. Like, really, he's so good. And
he's so good.
It's wild. And I don't think we necessarily always give him enough credit on the show because we're truly processing in the moment how good he is and the things he's saying. And like, it's hard when you're also performing at the same time.
You're trying to allow those gifts that he's giving us in the moment to actually land on the character. So it's hard to have commentary about it at the time. Yeah.
But truly, there's so many weeks afterwards, I'll just be thinking about it. I'll be like, good Lord. Like, it is such an honor to play with someone who is such a good storyteller. We're all good storytellers, but Jeff is like, just the way he ties everything together. I don't know. I feel so lucky to be able to have ever done anything with Jeff Cannata.
Absolutely. 100% agree. No caveats, additions at all. You said it perfectly. For me, the use of Ugo's shame as a relation to Marisis was so impactful to Ron as a player as well as Ugo as a character, because it gives you it's harder to be mad and to want the destruction of something or someone when you have empathy for them. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I think Jeff's entire purpose of that entire thing was empathy is the only solution to the vulnerable world problem. And I think that's right. I think learning how to evolve our empathy better as a species probably will will hopefully save us, humanity, from the vulnerable world problem, because it does exist and it is real. And I think Jeff is using this story to sort of let us know that that's how he also feels. And it's very clear, and I'm here for it. So we were not prepared, Red Robin, at all. It was, absolutely a reveal. And I'm still reeling from it and don't know how it necessarily impacts Ugo in a specific way, but I've got 2 more days to figure it out. So that isn't that I haven't been thinking about it or going over it. I have. It's just such a big impact that it's complex. The characters are complex, and you need time to really mull it over. And for me, it's a lot of like, well, how do I feel with it? Let it sit with me emotionally before I try to put it through the lens of Ugo. So,
yeah. It's wild. But Jeff Cannata is a warden, basically, in real life. He's a god.
Yep. He's a god-level DM. And here's the thing.
But he has all his memories.
He does. Here's the thing about Jeff. We are never going to replace Jeff. Not going to try. Because, and for those of you who don't know, Jeff is still part of the company. He's still part of the meetings. We still regularly communicate with Mr. Jeff Cannata in a beautiful way.
Yeah. He can't quit us.
He can't quit us that easily. And he wouldn't want to anyway. No. But I will say, because I am one of the 2 that are taking over and filling Mr. Cannata's shoes, it is not my intention to replace him. It's impossible. I can't do it. Not even going to try. It's a futile effort. But I'm going to bring my own game. And I know Jared and I have already talked about we're bringing more game. So I hope you're excited, because Jared and I are already very excited. The number of hours we've already put into the new campaign is insane. So know that we care and that we love, and it's all going to continue in that fashion going forward. So that's all I really have to say.
I'm excited. It's going to be
excited
so great.
Yeah, we're still waiting on information from you, Katie. We need more info.
I know.
I know. No pressure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question.
Mm-hmm.
From, I believe it's Guy, is how it's pronounced. We know Jeff is unpredictable and likes to surprise. If it was Ron and Katie's adventure, how would it end given the latest events? Wow.
Oh, wow. I don't know if
How would it end?
I don't even know if I've put any thought into that concept at all.
If a Lily had her druthers, everyone would hug and apologize and agree to be friends.
Yeah, I would probably go more the tragic route, but I like tragedies as storytelling. It's probably because of Shakespeare for sure. But not a full tragedy. It would be one where the tragedy comes from someone or something or all of us paying the price for everyone else's freedom or rectification. So that's just where that's where my brain goes with this kind of thing. And I think you kind of can see that in Ugo's decision making. And like, no, look, you shouldn't sacrifice yourself for him, it should be me. But that's how I would do it. You want all your sisters and everybody gets a group hug and that's it.
I mean, I don't know if that really is it, but Lily in general this has been hard for Lily because there's no right answer, and she is still young and is still, it feels like a long time, but it's not been that long for her to be like, she's not totally gone down the dark side of like the world is evil, but I think Lily still strongly believes that everybody has good. Everybody was a baby once, everybody has good in them.
That's right.
And so I think she feels like not being able to pull that out of people, anything else is like a cop out. Like, no, they have good in them. We should be able to find it,
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. Well, another question from, I guess it's Guy as in guitar.
Yeah.
Gamora as in,
Gamora.
So, it says guitar, but I pronounce it guitar. So it's Gamora. Ron, would you indulge us with early days tusked Ugo speech? What was the reason to drop that over time, and was it story related, Ugo becoming more literate? I dropped it over time for two reasons. One, I already have a severe underbite as is, so training my jaw to be like that for 4 hours every week is probably not a good thing for my health. So, but I also used his literacy as a way to kind of thematically change it over time. So now he talks more like this, and you still get the same impact, but now he doesn't rely so much on his orcishness as he does his knowledge of words. And practicing them more has helped him, the tusked speech, practicing your lip movement, I think has helped Ugo a bit too on not necessarily being impacted by the tusks in his mouth. So that's, just a little insight into that. Thank you for that question. It's would never have thought of that to talk about at all. So,
well, Ugo probably talks a lot more than he ever did before, also because orcs aren't like a tribe of many words necessarily.
Well, especially not the Thorn Orcs. The Thorn Orcs were not a tribe of many words. That's true.
They're very Hemingway-ish in their sentence structure, short and to the point.
Right. The truth in front of you, and that's it. And their truth in front of you, and that's it. I think Ugo's proclivity for speech and knowledge of words came from Human Mama for sure.
Yeah. So he's definitely, I feel like, also just his enunciation and flexibility with his mouth, alacrity with his mouth has gotten better.
His dexterity with his lips.
His lip dexterity has increased with his level.
By 4 points. At least by 4 points.
Huge. That's from a mumble to a strong, you can understand it most of it.
Right.
Guy says you nailed my name. Thanks for answering my questions. Yes.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. Okay. David Jen Pro has a Q. I wrote a longer piece on the Dungeon Run's first campaign impact on me over COVID, etc. Briefly, Ron and Katie, as end of the Ain adventure approaches, How has TDR impacted you as players, actors, people? What are your hopes for your characters as we all prepare to say goodbye to Uggo and Lily and others? Ron?
If any of you have not read Dr. David Genpro's little, I say little, long piece, I highly recommend you look up David Genpro on Twitter and give yourself a gander, because it was so refreshing to read that and see that. So thank you very much, David Genpro. It was very beautiful. This is a hard question to answer.
Yeah. I mean,
I
how
just want
impacted
to,
us
yeah,
people?
yeah, because I have close friendship with a group of people that I never had before, with this specific group of people. A successful, a growing and successful company that I partially own that I've never done. But most importantly, this story and this show has been probably the most creatively fulfilling endeavor I have ever had in my entire life, and that is not an exaggeration. The room that we have been given to help tell our own stories, the yes-anding from every person in this show, the community that has grown. Like I just got
Goosebumps.
yeah, goosebumps
Oh.
from saying the word community and feeling the understanding of what that truly is. The amount and ways in which I have been impacted in the various hats that I wear are too numerous and too extensive to go over it in this 1 hour cooldown, in just to be completely honest. What
Yeah.
I hope for is that continues. I believe it will. I have every reason to believe it will. And what I hope for Uggo as we say goodbye is that he lets go of that shame. That he realizes that that's really what he's been trying to kill this whole time, is the shame inside of him. So it's beautiful that that Jeff gave us that little nugget, because it's right on. It's clear that Jeff understood the stories that we were trying to tell as characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, Jeff Kanata is a god.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, I think as people, it's just what Ron said. It's this it truly is being on a show like this and being in a community and playing on a campaign for 2+ years, the same character as a person, even not as a character. It is kind of, it feels like a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity to you don't get that easily. That's hard to find. We're lucky that we were strangers when we started this and we all got along so well and our energies and chemistry matched in this beautiful way that is sustainable, because that doesn't happen. As someone who's been in this industry for a long time, entertainment, not D&D, but same,
Mm-hmm.
that's rare. And so I don't know, I just think it's, as a person, I think it's honestly, like, I'm pretty optimistic already, but it adds to that optimism of like, oh, great things happen.
Yep.
This was, or would have never 5 years ago, never ever guessed that this would have happened.
If you
And
had
it
talked,
is,
go ahead.
no, it's a cool reminder. Like, if you're feeling bummed out, to be like, you know what, cool things can happen and they can come from nothing, basically. For me, I barely played D&D. I ended up in this opportunity where these random skills I had all came together, met these people. I just would have never been able to predict it.
Yep.
So
I mean, absolutely. If you asked, little 16-year-old Ron, who picked up the AD&D Player's Manual and Dungeon Master's Guide for the first time, if you knew when you're just about to turn 40, you'd start doing this for as part of your entertainment career, he would have looked at you like you're insane. No way. That's not, even even college age Ron would feel the same way, knowing how much time I spent around the D&D table while I was in college. I mean, I drove 3 hours every week to go to my D&D games during college. That's how dedicated I was to it. But I was also learning the craft of storytelling while I was in college. So this was a great way for me to practice. So it was worth the 3 hours of driving that I did every week to do it. So yeah, it's, you're right. I would never have, so many beautiful things can come from nothing.
Yeah.
I've discovered.
But also, as far as the character goes, I think for Lily, I hope, I mean, I think Lily feels a lot of like maternal responsibility to the group. And ultimately, I think that's not fair. Or like no one puts it on her other than herself, that pressure. But making sure she doesn't feel like if things don't go exactly as planned, she needs to necessarily fix everything. She's a fixer.
Yep.
But I think often with fixers and mothers in groups, it can get to a place that is not great, not healthy, and a responsibility that you can't control that. You can't control everything. So, and then I hope in the future
I could learn for sure.
yeah. I mean, I think we all have aspects of our character in us. Like,
of course.
I'm definitely a person who in groups wants everyone to, if I'm hosting, I'm like, try and have every dietary restriction taken care of. Everybody has something that they can have, but sometimes it becomes unsustainable too.
Right.
There's thoughtful, and then it becomes like an anxiety.
Right.
And that line is actually quite easy to tiptoe over on accident. Indeed. So I think I hope that she doesn't feel like a failure. I hope none of them do. I think that's like a risk we all run right now, is feeling like the weight of the world is on our shoulders. And
if we don't do it exactly right, then we have somehow failed. Yeah.
I think
a lot of our superhero stories play with that theme a lot too, especially Spider-Man.
Yeah, you can't save everyone.
That's right.
As much as you feel like you should be able to. And also for characters that we get to, I mean, I think we'll maybe hopefully see them again, but even if it's in like we do a one-off where we're just meeting an inn at some point, and where are they now? I mean, I hope we do that.
I hope we do that too. That would be so fun. And
fun to do a like, I don't know, whatever years later. This is all hoping that we don't die on.
That's assuming that we're all still alive to do
all
that.
Very depleted, so it's gonna be a real interesting.
That's what I love. Is like we're all basically out of stuff. Ugo has a couple of things left, but basically out of stuff. And they're like, now you're gonna fight the hardest fight you've ever done. It's like, let's do it.
Yeah. It's time to get creative.
That's right. It's time to get creative. And that actually we have one question from Black Symbiote here in the chat. Sometimes Jared would try to shoot an enemy in a targeted spot like wing or neck, or how he tried to break the glass to get Urtenfurt to sort of shorten a fight. Do you think stuff like that will factor more heavily into the next campaign since Jared will be a DM? I can't speak to Jared, but what I can speak to...
I can.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
What I can speak to is rule of cool is always a thing that we want to do, but there's always ways to be like, well, I want to solve the problem now, and sometimes that doesn't necessarily fit well in a story. If you solve the problem right away, you don't necessarily get the chance for a character to grow or to learn what's going on. I think you'll see still a lot of rule of cool stuff going on. I don't necessarily think you will see us all being like, oh yeah, let's just shoot him in the eye. Just shoot him right in the eye and it's over. Like, well, I mean, he still has hit points and there's still kind of a rule system. So we want to try to be, especially because we do have an audience and those individuals do have some sort of understanding of how the rules work. So I think we want to be careful about letting all of those happen all the time. But that's just a caveat of mine. Jared may very much disagree with me, and that's okay.
I definitely think Jared, I will approach as a player differently at first with knowing Jared and Ron are DMs. I think they'll be different. I think like I never check for traps with Jeff, but Jared always asks about checking for traps. And so I'm like, my instinct is like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to have to start freaking checking for traps now because Jared's the DM.
Yeah, and that's the thing with DMs, right? Like the way that they, right. I very much like traps. I very much like gods in D&D. Jeff is not necessarily into that aspect, which is totally fine. It's totally good. Not every D&D game has to have a pantheon or gods in it. It's totally okay. I, however, grew up with that kind of stuff. Greek and Roman mythology,
Traps?
Norse mythology, Native American mythology. These kind of mythologies were really impactful to me as a child. And so they still are. And I mean, we see it around us all the time. Religion is still very much a thing. Belief systems are very much and very strong in our different societies. So it's clearly got some impact on humanity. So I think it's a great way to really do some storytelling, in my personal opinion. And D&D says like literally all pantheons. The 5e edition says all pantheons exist. So have at it. Have at ye. Our next question is from Danae Weeks. They say, to follow up on David Jen's prose question, are your characters going to continue to exist in further campaigns?
Not really sure. Probably not anytime soon.
Yeah.
They really are in this world of Ein.
Right.
I won't say never, I guess, but my guess, and I think kind of what we've talked about is like, this is where they belong. This is their story. And so we might come back to them in some way at some point, but I wouldn't say that's anytime soon that I know of.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We've had some conversations about how this would all work as things continue on, and there's still some stuff up in the air. We're still got a bunch of plates that we're spinning.
Yeah.
And like anything, if the first season of the Dungeon Run didn't teach you anything, is that change is inevitable, and you need to be flexible in order to accommodate the changes that arise, because things occur that you did not necessarily take into account, and you need to pivot and so on and so forth. So we want this show and this company to be successful and long term, and so we are making choices that are grounded in that concept. Is that we want to make sure that we can sustain things and that it feels genuine. So that's, at least from my perspective, where we're coming from. I don't know that our characters are going to continue. They will not exist in this new campaign, most likely. Never say never. I will say that the way that Jared and I are discussing the new campaign is that it will be separate from Ein. How separate? I don't know. We haven't really gone into the details of that. But there will be, we are not getting rid of any of that. That's still that all the season 1, all of that is still part of the company. We are still very much have access to those characters and can bring them back if we choose so in the future. It's just a matter of right now it's time for a change, and Jared and I, it's time for a new story.
It's such a gift to be able to start a new story. I mean, Ein is such an incredible journey, and it's like this book that you want to reread over and over and over again, but you also don't want like the sequels to get crummy and like it
right.
You want Ein to be that thing.
Let's dust off that old Uggo mall and bring it out again.
Tried to do too many, and then it was like, oh no, you've ruined it. So I think that's also part of our hope here, is that like this is this book closing. That doesn't mean there might not be more, or we might not have little side quests or whatever, but for now we're closing it and we're going to open up a new story. And I'm so excited with a lot of our same energies, but new story.
Yeah, absolutely. Same energy, same commitment to storytelling, same dedicated role play, I mean, our energy at the table. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong on this.
You haven't been yet on anything, so.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. It is my opinion that people show up for this because we are playing these characters. Our dynamic is what brings people to our show. That's what I like to believe. I like to believe that it's the way that we do things, the way that each of us brings different things to the table. And if I'm right about that, then any new characters we bring and any new story we tell you will be just as entertaining and just as impactful to you as our previous stories. So I hope you all feel that way, because I feel that way, and that's why I'm continuing the two and be excited to continue what we're doing going forward.
And just to be clear, we are all going to miss these characters deeply.
Of course.
Like, I think we're not to brush over that. It's very bittersweet to say, like, oh, this is the last week I'm going to play Lily for a while, or Ugo. Like, yeah, I think we are all feeling that heartbreak. But again, to what I just said, I think it's like we know it's a necessary time. It's a good time for this story to come to a close. A story has to come to a close at some point.
Yes. All stories end. Every story ends. Literally.
So, and it's always gonna, I think if you love the characters, it's always gonna feel like, no, I want more. Like, it's always gonna feel like that. And I know I feel like that, and I think we all do, but also logically know, like, yeah, it's time. It's time for the next thing.
Yeah, it is. I agree. And here's where I feel very humble. I mean, I feel humble about this entire situation. Being on the dungeon run from start to finish has been very humbling for me. But what's very humbling as well is seeing the response of our community in the announcement that Jared and I are going to co-DM. There was some sadness of this story ending, and I share that. I promise you, I share that.
Oh yeah, we all share it.
I have. If you need independent verification and you need a source, because that's how science works, then I can give you one. Her name is Heather, and she will gladly tell you how sad I am that I won't be playing Ugo, one of my favorite characters that I've ever created for the foreseeable future. But having experienced the ending of stories as an actor, one thing that I have found that helps me is getting excited about the next thing. Giving the loss weight is important. Feeling that loss, being real with it, is an important step in any kind of loss. But I've also found that it's hope of the future that helps me pull myself out of that loss mentality. Hope for the future. Now, I'm a very hopeful person, so that that probably comes to me easier than some. But I've also kind of built that over time, like purposefully tried to view things in that manner, because it's like any of the stories that you see where a hero loses their life, but in such a way that it allowed others and more life to continue going. All of that is then in a baby, like you can see, that person's life ended, but they allowed other babies to be born. Every baby that is born from then on of that hero's loss is just a pure miracle, right? In that context of a loss of that hero. So for me, it's that. The hope of the future is always a great way for me to sort of rectify and heal from loss.
Yeah.
There's me. That's just how I look at it, though.
I think it's great. I think it's bittersweet, but it is more sweet than anything because it happened. We love it. We have this incredible experience and this incredible story that we can go back and watch and read, and these characters that we'll always love. And now we get to do another one together.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
And I like David Gen Pro, who was very active in our chat as usual, said it best that their mother, their grandmother used to say, "Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened."
Mm-hmm.
I wise grandmother, David Gen Pro, a wise grandmother. So,
I think we have one more Patreon question.
We do.
From Numera. Hi, Ron and Katie. Hi.
Hi.
A question for you both. How has playing this character so long impacted the way you play any other character? Also, after playing so long, if you could go back to the beginning, would you have done something different with Ugo or Lily? A two-parter.
Yeah, it's a two-parter. So I don't think playing this character has impacted the other ways I play characters. But I only think that's because I've played characters longer than this. Now, have those long, those extensive characters that I played in the past impacted Uggo and how I play him? Absolutely, because I learned what to do and what not to do in very different settings, both as a player and as a storyteller. Long extensions of character play, I think, are really good teachable moments over time on, oh, this is how some people play D&D. Okay, that's pretty antagonistic, and I don't know if I want to go down that route all the time because it's not conducive to storytelling, all that kind of stuff. But if I could go back to the beginning and done something different with Uggo, absolutely not. I think every choice that I made with Uggo wasn't the right choice, but was a choice I was comfortable with because I was making it in the moment as honest as I could be in the moment.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, playing this character with this group of people has definitely a little bit changed how I approach character work. It is character work, but like Jeff as a storyteller is so inspiring to me. I think it has just challenged me to dive deeper in things. Like I think we all dove deep in our characters, but Jeff he inspires me in that way of like just making everything, how he connects everything. So just being extra thoughtful, I guess, in that sense. And then, yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with Ron. I think it's hard to say changing anything because I think all the things gave us gifts, all the mistakes, all the weird moments or whatever gave us our gifts. And they're usually because we're reacting in the moment to these huge situations. So, I mean, the whole thing with me not looking things in the eye in the first part of, or seeing things die in the first part is because in session 0, the first time I did an attack, I closed my eyes and I got disadvantage because I was just like, this character is squeamish. And Jeff's like, okay, well, if you close your eyes, you can't stab well. Like I tried to like stab a rat or something. I don't remember what it was. And so then Lily made a point of like having her eyes open, and then it turned into this thing. So it was me not knowing the consequences of that became a gift. So yeah, I don't think I would change anything. I think there's moments where in the moment you're like, oh shoot, I should have reacted differently, or oh shoot, I should have given more to that, or but ultimately I remember feeling so bad when Lily was like flustered by the song that Jared and Amy did, and being like, oh shoot, maybe she should have really loved it and had like, but that's how Lily felt, like we know these characters so well. So sometimes I think you feel like you want to do it different because it's not like the not right, but it's not the like pretty choice, but it's the honest choice.
Yeah.
I think we're all pretty good at making the honest choice. I think those are when you have regrets, is when you're like, ugh, that felt forced. That felt dishonest to the character. That felt like a joke that I wouldn't have, like whatever. We don't really do that, but we all have had those moments, I think, where we've said something or done something or reacted in a way where then you're like, okay, check yourself. That's not this character.
Yes. I've had those in real life for sure.
But we all do that. Yeah, we all do that in real life where you do something out of character for yourself. It's the same situation where you say something and you're like, who was that? Whose voice just came out of my mouth and said the thing? I mean, I know I definitely have done this many times in my life to a point that I'm almost not even surprised anymore when it happens. So.
Same. We are alike in that way, Kate. Also, probably why we're close friends.
It's a fun out of body experience. A fun out of body experience when you say something and you're like, that I don't know where I even knew that word, how I would have put that. Yeah, would have never
clue where that came from. No idea. It's what I like to think is part of the multiverse theory. Is that sometimes, every once in a while, the entanglement theory happens in brain, and so you're actually getting the thoughts and feelings of someone in a different multiverse. That's just my explanation of it, though. I have no science to back that up. It's my fantasy coming forward and helping me understand. I guess that's it. I guess that's what it was. So we had a question here from who else? Elliot. Hey, buddy, how you doing, pal? Um,
Hello.
if Jeff did a montage of the fates of the heroes of Bingle's friends, what's an NPC you hope appears, and what are you hoping happens to them? We'll start with
Whoa.
you, Katie.
Wait, I'm sorry. I was reading questions too. Read it one more
It's
time.
okay. Yeah, absolutely. Who else? Elliot asks, if Jeff could do a montage of the fates of the heroes of Bingle's friends, what's an NPC you hope appears, and what are you hoping happens to them?
Oh,
Chat says Jorl. I'm not surprised that chat says Jorl.
yeah. I mean, I selfishly really want to check in. I've been wanting to check in with my Bengal family
Yep.
for so long, uh, and make sure they're good. Who else?
I would like to see the group in Olsvach.
Uh-huh.
Civ's group in Olsvach. I would love to see.
Yeah.
Personally, I'd also like to see. I would like to see Ugo Gurk. I'd like to see what happens to Gurk. I would like to see if Gurk becomes king at some point. I'd like to see how Ugo's, because I think what we realized in that situation, or at least what I realized, was that Gurk was the hope that Ugo had for how Thorn might change. Is that previously in Thorn, Gurk probably was seen as one of the weaker elements of Thorn. But it is Ugo's belief that Gurk is actually the strength of Thorn. That is the true strength of Thorn. So that's what I would like to see, personally. But that is also selfish.
No, some good stuff in chat here. Salvage Manders agree.
Mm-hmm.
What was the old man farmer? What was his name? The Italian, like the old Italian grandpa who gave me the
Yeah, Jeff's grandfather
cooking.
as a character.
Oh, I would love to see him too. I would just love to
It's
hang
on the
out
edge of
with
my
him.
brain. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Oh, Jeff, I'm so sorry.
Frophy?
Frophy. That's
Is it? Someone
Frophy.
Numera71 said Frophy.
Well done, Numera. It is
Right.
Frophy. You're
Sounds
right.
right.
It's
Sexy
Frophy.
bartender. Sure. Do a little check
Sure.
in
Why not?
there.
Why not?
Yeah, Frophy. Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
good recall, everyone.
Oh, sexy bartender actually brings a character to mind that I think would be interesting. The kid that Schaffergot took over. In the tavern. In the tavern during Stranger's Fate, there was a child.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I would love to see maybe a little bit of that and who they became.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. Sorry,
Wow.
you mentioning the sexy bartender made me think about that.
Yeah. Someone said tiny itty bitty Cornelia, Big Bear Keaton.
Oh yeah, little tiny Cornelia. We didn't know. Oh wow, yeah, that's right. Oh man.
The poor bartender from the first episode. I feel like he might not be here anymore.
Yeah, he might be in even.
But who knows?
Nine Hells or whatever. Yeah,
Who knows?
Who knows?
Maybe the Cobalt stopped after that.
Ibi Dubi Libik Baby Subajebijebishinbin above the Salvavibage Manjurers Abiswebel.
A lot of people want to see them.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't trust a portal. That's what we learned first step.
Yeah, never trust a portal. That's right.
It will cut you. Ema's father. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Conroy.
Yeah.
Gosh, I mean, so many.
There are so many.
Dondo. Just so fun. Like the two dudes who we found, the two dwarves, what were their names?
Oh man.
That took us to Dondo.
You're asking me right now.
I know there's so many names.
There's so many.
It honestly, like another thing I just every week.
Homrian and Donk. Well done. Who else, Elliot? Homrian.
Oh yes, Marion and Donk. Yeah, the Jeff can do recall on all the voices is.
It shows you how much work he puts into the thing.
I don't understand.
The practicing of voices, the names, how they fit into the whole thing.
The two pirates that Lily talked to, the lovers. What were? Yep. I hope they're happily married somewhere.
They deserve it for sure.
Or partnered or whatever they want to do.
Trevor and Hinklefist.
Yes. Oh, they love each other.
They do. Gotta love. If you haven't, Katie, have you watched at all Our Flag Means Death?
I just watched the first episode last night.
Continue to watch it. It starts a little slow, in my opinion. The first episode was a little slow. I'm forgiving of this cast because I love them in so many other things. But it has started to get really good.
I'm excited. My friend Jen
relates. It relates. So I hope you do watch that further.
The late Maud is who loved James.
Oh yeah, Maud.
Yes, would love it if Maud came back. Just love some Maud James drama. Truly mad.
Maud. My name's Maud.
Ron, are you feeling ready for this week?
Well, somebody asked earlier about some stuff too. I am ready for this week, as much as ready as we can be. It's pretty clear what we've got to fight. We'll see. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but I believe in our problem-solving skills now. So I think we'll do okay.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too.
I'm like trying
danger in front of us, danger behind, and we're stuck in the middle.
Spider weaknesses. I've been like trying to brainstorm.
Part of me is hoping that the slime's name. Why can't my brain and recognizing proper nouns today is just not working.
Cool. What were you trying to?
Shothergot's creator, Gonador. Thank you. Who else, Elliot? Gonador.
I'm hoping there's all the names.
Of course. There's a part of me that wonders how much of this is going to be like, oh, I'm a spider and I found these aphids, and I'm hungry. But then, a bigger spider shows up. Like that's, it's like, okay, we aphids, we're just going to be, while Gonador and Wolf duke it out. That's part of me what hopes will happen. Somehow I don't think that's what Jeff's going to let us get away with. So, what are we? The playthings of other gods. That's really where I'm at with it right now.
We're the pawns.
We are pawns in a game that we didn't know we were even playing until right now.
I don't even know if we're pawns. We're like rooks. We're in the middle.
We have upgraded our pieces. We've gotten to one edge of the board and come from pawns to like rooks and knights and that.
The drow are pawns at this point, I feel like.
Yeah, they are. Agreed.
It's gonna be wild because a lot of us are injured. A lot of us are, I'm hoping my madness is starting to wear off when we're out of the thing, but Lily had a rough episode.
Yes, she did. Ron, who played Uggo for so long, does want to make one suggestion. Rage tends to help focus things when you're confused and mad. Just saying. Yeah. I'll let that lie and let you deal with that as you will. The hour. I mean, we started a little late, so we're getting closer to the hour than we were before. But the hour went by very quickly, as it always does.
Goes by fast with these angels in chat.
With these yahoos in chat.
Sweet, juicy yahoos.
Also, let's just be honest. It's really, really easy to talk to Katie Michels. If you didn't know that, it is. It's like talking to a breath of fresh air. It's really what it is.
Like talking to air?
Yeah.
Like I have nothing to say?
A breath of fresh air. Like a breath of fresh
air. Wow, Ron. Wow.
How did this get turned around to be the opposite of what I wanted it to be?
Stupid?
No. What?
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Am I supposed to say yes? I don't understand.
Level 3 madness from last week is like still there.
There was a question earlier about some of what's coming. And so since this is a cooldown and I happen to have a little bit of insight into what's coming, I do want to drop a couple of teasers because I know we're going to need to start doing that. Let's just say Ron in the last 2 weeks has created 3 new races and 6 new sub races. We'll just leave it at that. So look forward to that. And I'll tell you, we've already got a couple of our cast who are creating their characters, who have created most of their characters. We're still working on solidifying everything there. But I can tell you, Jared and I have been heads down in creating. And let me just say, because we got big shoes to fill, we're going to come in swinging. So good luck.
Oh my
Katie,
God.
good luck. I think it is a good idea that you're like, well, we're going to play differently under Jared and Ron. Yeah, you are.
Oh, I know. I know.
It's going to be great, though. It's going to be.
Believe it or not, 114
fantastic.
episodes later, I know you pretty well.
And I will tell you, we created, I worked really hard and created a class for a subclass for Paladin. We are doing the same in this campaign. There will be a class or two that we will create as well. So keep an eye out for all of that, guys. Right now, we don't have a specific date for the start. There's more information coming as we move forward. We are still shooting for summer of this year, but more specific information in the future as we know it. And as soon as we know it, so will you. So,
yeah, summer 2022.
Summer 2022.
The blockbuster movie coming this summer, pending production difficulties. I'm just kidding. It's going to be great. It's going to be so fun. I'm so excited to see what you and Jared come up with, Ron. And I know it's going to be different and the same at the same time. And I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to see everyone's characters. And it's exciting to start from the beginning with the relationships. So much of the fun of the dungeon run was getting to know our characters live, basically. Because the thing is about character creation, which is, we had a couple questions on this, is you create your character, but you can't do all of it. If you got to be flexible with this, because your situations are unpredictable. So,
well, and just as a information for DMs, one of the best things you can do for yourself is to wrap your story around your characters' backstories. If you do so, your job becomes a lot easier. Mm-hmm. It's still a hard job, but it becomes much easier if you don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff did that.
Don't do that. Yeah, exactly. Jeff did it, and that's a gift to all of us. It was also a gift to him as a DM, and a gift to you as the community. But just in my opinion, it's a good idea to do that if you're a DM. Read your characters' backstories, your players' backstories. Take it as word and make it in your worlds. That's all I've got to say there. So.
All right, Ron Ogden, we're at 1 hour.
We're at 1 hour. Thank you so much for joining me today, Katie.
Oh my gosh, what a way to spend a rainy LA Monday.
Seriously.
My pleasure. Thanks everyone for the flexibility with the time change. We really appreciate it. We'll be back next week.
Yes.
I think with an extra long cool down. And I believe we'll all be here.
I believe that is what we are attempting to do next cool down is to have
I'll be coming in a cool hour into it, but we will all eventually be here.
Absolutely. And I did see a question out there. We are, in fact, adding probably some characters, some new players to our game as well to take in the slots that Jared and I are leaving open. So look out for those announcements going forward as well.
Yeah, so much stuff coming down the pipeline.
Indeed. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on the Dungeon Cooldown. One more last shout out to all of you. This show and all of our shows are made possible because of watchers like you. Thank you for spending your time with us. Patrons, thank you for supporting us monetarily to continue to do what we do here. And think about
and emotionally,
and well, of course. And if you are not current Patreon supporter, might I suggest that maybe you should join us, because going forward we will be outputting a lot more information via Patreon on what's happening. So you'll get to know first if you're part of our Patreon. Patreon.com/thedungeonrun, I believe is that the right link?
Right. Yeah.
I think that's the right link.
You nailed it.
So thank you everyone for joining us today on the Dungeon Cooldown. I'm Ron Ogden.
And I'm Katie Michels. And until next time,
Humankind. Be both.